Okay, folks, so now we're going to be talking about Bucky series, okay? It's going to be a short discussion, hopefully. Firstly, the Bucky series is going amazingly well. Okay, we have got these incredible people showing up, but this is not about that. This is about us doing our homework, us trying to learn Bucky's ideas on our own. That's what we're going to be doing on Comprehensivist Wednesdays. And I was brainstorming with Maritza about how to go about doing that. Okay, how do you go about doing that? Because if you look at Bucky's work, I mean, it is gargantuan. It's like each of the books are like this thick. And whenever he speaks only for 20 hours at a stretch, apparently. And so how do we actually learn the core ideas? What are the ways of doing that? And initially, our first thought was to start with Critical Path, because that was a book that came highly recommended by different people. We had gone through the operating manual, which was an amazing success, I thought. I got a lot from that. So it's a great, probably the best introduction to Bucky's ideas. But now the question is, how do we approach rest of Bucky? And here is what I thought, and I ran it by Maritza, and she was thinking exactly along the same lines. And I wanted to talk to Joe. So this is partly just talking to Joe, but I'm going to include everybody else here because I want to get feedback from everybody. I think the simplest way to proceed is by great ideas of Bucky. Take the theme of the big ideas of Bucky and take an idea, have some references and you can read about them. And then we'll go to the next idea and the next idea. Instead of trying to read a book, because Bucky goes all over the place in a book, but there are only very few, probably a dozen, I would say, are the core ideas of Bucky. I don't know what exactly that set is, and we will discover that as we go along. And I encourage you to contribute to that discussion. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that approach of doing core ideas of Bucky. And we will list a whole bunch of ideas. We're going to take our idea and then run with it. Now, I want, Maritza, if you could talk about the first idea that you have chosen and talk about, anything that you want to say about it, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so what we're going to be tackling first is we're going to look at the concept of doing more with less. Bucky uses the word ephemeralization. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. And it actually comes, it shows up in so many of his works. I have looked at about 5 different of his books now, and I keep finding it in different ways he presents it to us. So what we're hoping to do is bring up, and this is a very profound statement that we could, all of us, benefit from embracing. And so the idea is to look at the idea, the concept, look at it in a few ways that Bucky looked at it, based on some of his works, and then to maybe show where we have already studied it with different works from others, because, this is Comprehensivist Wednesday, so we'll bring in others. And then hopefully there will be a variety of people who show up who can also add their view of the idea or another philosopher or concept that ties with the idea, because what we want to do here is to show the overarching way, and we want to bring Bucky's ideas out of the page. And so a beautiful thing, I'm going to tie it into the meeting today. Owen Barfield talks about, he has this thing, I brought it up. It's actually kind of funny because he says, he says, first, a word, whether spoken or written, has a remarkable, even paradoxical quality, namely that it both goes out and remains where it was to start with. Word, means, of course, not just the ink marks and egos, but the thing is, when a word is read or heard, that meaning goes out. It goes out to another mind or to many other minds. And that's what we're hoping to do. We want to take something like ephemeralization, which I still struggle to even say, and we want to put in everyone's ear this idea of doing more with less. And we want all of you to embrace it. So that's just the example of the first idea. And we hope to replicate that type of model with several other of his ideas.
Wonderful. Great way of putting it. And the beautiful thing is that we have got all these people who have spent decades studying Bucky's ideas. And all we have to do is to just provide the seed. It's like seeding the cloud, being the lightning rod. You just put that out there, and then there's so much that is going to come from the cloud to make that discussion amazingly rich. And I want to invite anybody who wants to do this to come forward. Okay, so it's not just Maritza, but anybody who wants to say, okay, look, I really love this idea of, let's see the discussion that took place on synergy, right? Peter came and he put forth the idea in a very short presentation. You don't have to do all the work. You simply say, okay, looks like this is the key thing. You can just read out what Bucky said and talk to me and Maritza and Joe and Rupali to figure out whether that idea is of the right scale. Okay, so let's do things which are, let's choose ideas which are, let's say, the meetup size ideas, okay, where you can do a whole meetup on it. That's the standard. Okay, so propose different ideas that you want to lead on, like Joe, Maritza, me, all of us can do the moderating, so you don't even have to do the moderating. We can, so let's work together. What I suggest is that read Bucky, explore his videos, explore all the meetups that, that are being done here on your own, in any direction, in any path that you think valuable. And then come and speak about ideas that you find really life transforming. Okay, the only requirement is that it has to completely change your life. Okay, make it tremendously better. That's it. So that's the idea. Now I want to ask people what they think. The first person is Joe. Joe, what do you think of approaching Bucky this way?
I mean, I think this is excellent, actually. I mean, by tackling the concepts and getting used to, because he has his own language. And so his own way of, speaking about things. So ephemeralization is a really good place to start because it's a solid concept that everybody, and it's one of his generalized principles. So I think that one of the things that I would talk about if approaching this, I think one of the things that I'm still wrestling with that we may want to have a presentation on is cosmic accounting. His cosmic accounting, his way of looking at energy, is a very important concept and a core concept to what to basically everything he talks about. In ephemeralization, I mean, procession is another one. Where they were just recommending that we were to, do a session on procession. I think that is another concept that we could do. But there's also Utopian and Oblivion actually outlines a lot of generalized principles. So there's like even the idea of how he thinks about the universe. And that's a very important concept to understand. How he defines universe. And actually, Yasuhiko talked about this on Saturday. So I think that's, understanding what Buckminster Fuller meant by universe. And why that's significant, because he thought of it as finite as well, which is slightly different, but he had his reasons for thinking of it that way. Teleology, how he thinks about teleology is a little bit different than what we're used to. So being teleological, even his definition of design science, we could compare and contrast it to what we learned from Harold this weekend. What does Bucky do differently than Harold? There's this is why one of the presentations that what Bucky not only thought about education, but one of his core concepts in Utopian or Oblivion is about children. A whole section is dedicated to that. That would be, now I shouldn't be, but would probably be perfect for that. It would be ideal. I don't want to assign anybody, but obviously that would be perfect. So anyway, I like this approach because what happens is it allows us to connect the dots. You can take the tetrahedron and then you start to understand the tetrahedron, and then you start to understand the geometry of thought. You start to see the connections between the two. So Joe, if you take the concepts,
Joe, can you do me a favor? Can you send me all of these? And what I will do is that I will try to map them all out. Okay, I'm going to try to create maps. And
I have several of them on the list.
What's that?
Several of them are already on the list. You can't.
Okay, wonderful. So you send me, folks. Send me. You can write to 52livingideas@gmail.com or shrikantrangnekar@yahoo.com, which is the longer address. So 52livingideas is, if you don't have my email address, you can start there, and then I will send you my email address. So you don't have to say it. You don't have to remember it. I will just send you an email. It will be in your email box. So send me the ideas, list of ideas, which you think are more important. If you have like 50 ideas, if you could identify what you think are the big ideas at the, and separate them out from smaller ideas, that would be great. But in any case, I want to basically start thinking in this way, of thinking of it as a network of ideas that we are trying to master. And you have to realize that we are having these amazing presentations. So we can, like, for example, Jon and Yoshimi want to do the presentation on recession. So we will go ahead.
That'd be good.
And it doesn't have to be like, what I'm saying is that they are going to come, people are going to come on their own, and they are going to say, look, this idea I want to do something on. And we will be able to, connect all of these things. So, but having, starting with a map of ideas and then running with ideas based on interest of people. And I'm inviting anybody who wants to say, look, this idea I'm really passionate about. I want to lead a meetup on that. And we have plenty of spots to be able to do that. So I'm happy to I'm planning to add more spots on the weekends. I'm thinking of doing Saturday, because I think we have got our regular meetups are on Sunday at 9 p.m. Instead of having 2 Bucky meetups on the same day, I might want to stagger them. So there is one on like Saturday morning and one on Sunday evening. I think that will work for more people. I also want to, my other purpose is to get Europeans and people from Australia and New Zealand, to give them multiple time zones that they, times that they can use. So, all right, anybody else has any comment on this idea of approaching Bucky's thought through a collection of ideas, greatest ideas of Bucky as a way of approaching his, Evanik likes it. Very good. Very good. Anybody else has anything to add? Otherwise, we will call it a day. And I want to tell you about tomorrow. We are going to do, it's so many great meetups. So tomorrow we're going to do Gospel of John. It's the end of chapter 14. Next, on weekends, we have Saturday evening. Harold Nelson is going to be back for the second installment. I think it'll be at least 3 or 4, to go through his slide deck. It's just amazing. So don't miss that. It is just incredible. He's actually telling us about his design school. Next, we're going to have, on Sunday, we're going to have Kirby Urner. Okay, Kirby is very deep. He really knows. It's going to be Synergetics, a deep dive. Okay, so what we've been doing is that we have been just wading in the water, okay, getting our feet wet here. And he's going to just throw us in the ocean. That's the plan, okay? And let's see what happens, okay? Sink or swim. But in any way, we'll have enough connections there. The ocean of ideas works very differently than ocean of water. It is all about making connections. So I think we'll be all right. But it's going to be a lot of fun with that. I have to tell you a good news. It's not finalized yet, but Mark Stallman reached out to me to ask if he could launch the Trivium University courses at 52 Living Ideas. So we will probably have that sometime. It's going to be 2 or 3 months from now, but that's going to be something really magnificent. And it's amazing to see all these great ideas, great people coming and talking about this. So, all right, folks. So thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.